Let me tell you about something that could completely transform your life. It's about the relationship between dreams and sacrifice. You see, most people have dreams, but they're not willing to pay the price those dreams demand. And that's where the whole game is lost before it even begins. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's like running a tab at the universe's restaurant. Everything you want has a price tag, but here's what's interesting. You have to pay for it in advance. Most people want to enjoy the meal before they pay the bill, and that's not how it works. Now, let me share something powerful with you. Big dreams aren't free. They're not even on sale. They cost exactly what they cost, and the price is non-negotiable. The only question is, are you willing to pay the full price? You see, most people have this interesting relationship with their dreams. They want the penthouse view, but they're only willing to pay basement prices. But here's what's fascinating. The universe doesn't discount greatness. It never has, and it never will. Let me tell you about something I learned early in my journey. Discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But most people see discipline as their enemy when it's actually their best friend. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that sacrifice isn't losing something, it's trading up. They're not giving up, they're investing. They're not missing out, they're preparing for something bigger. You know what's interesting about successful people? They don't wait to feel motivated to do what needs to be done. They've learned that motivation is a fair weather friend, but discipline is a loyal soldier that shows up every single day, rain or shine. Let me share something profound with you. Every big dream comes with a price list. It tells you exactly what you need to give up to get what you want. Most people look at the price list and walk away. Winners look at the price list and start paying. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, the price is too high. Let me ask you something. Compared to what? Compared to living with the pain of regret? Compared to wondering what if for the rest of your life? Compared to watching others live your dreams because they were willing to pay the price you weren't? You see, there's this fascinating principle in life. The bigger the dream, the bigger the price tag. But here's what's interesting. The price doesn't go down just because you complain about it. The price doesn't change. You have to change. Let me tell you about discipline. It's like compound interest for your dreams. Every small disciplined action you take is like making a deposit in your future success account. But most people want to make withdrawals before they've made any deposits. Here's what's fascinating about sacrifice. It's temporary, but its rewards are permanent. The pain of discipline lasts for a moment, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Which pain would you rather choose? Let me tell you about something that could revolutionize your approach to achievement. It's called the law of sacrifice hierarchy. You see, not all sacrifices are created equal. Some sacrifices are investments, while others are just expenses. But most people can't tell the difference. Here's what's fascinating about discipline. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But here's what's interesting. Most people try to start with the heavy weights when they haven't even developed their discipline muscles for the small things. Now let me share something powerful about daily choices. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're casting a vote for your future self. Every time you choose immediate gratification over long-term growth, you're voting against your dreams. You see, most people have this interesting approach to success. They want to find an easy way, a shortcut, a hack. But here's what's fascinating. The easy way usually leads to a hard life, while the hard way usually leads to an easy life. Let me tell you about something I observed in successful people. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't debate whether they feel like doing what needs to be done. They've made their decisions in advance, and they let their discipline carry them when their motivation fails. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that sacrifice isn't about giving up something good for something bad. It's about giving up something good for something better. But most people never make that distinction. You know what's interesting about big dreams? They require big changes. You can't become a new person while holding on to all your old habits. Something has to give, but most people want results without new behaviors. Let me share something profound about personal growth. The bigger your dreams, the bigger your needed growth. You have to become a different person to achieve different results. And becoming different requires sacrificing who you are for who you need to be. Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I've tried discipline before and failed. Here's what you need to understand. Discipline isn't a one-time decision. It's 1,000 tiny decisions made every single day. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. You see, there's this fascinating principle in success. The price of success must be paid in full and in advance. But here's what's interesting. You can pay in installments. Small daily disciplines compound over time into massive achievements. Let me tell you about something I call the sacrifice bank. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're making a deposit. Every time you choose immediate pleasure over long-term growth, you're making a withdrawal. The balance of this account determines your future. Here's what's fascinating about personal transformation. It's not just about what you're willing to do, it's about what you're willing to give up. But most people focus so much on what they need to do that they forget about what they need to stop doing. Let me tell you about something that could transform your entire understanding of achievement. It's called the law of necessary elimination. You see, success isn't just about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. But most people are so busy adding new things that they never subtract what's holding them back. Here's what's fascinating about discipline. It's like a sculptor's chisel. The sculptor doesn't add to create a masterpiece. They remove everything that doesn't belong. But here's what's interesting. Most people are trying to add their way to success when they should be subtracting their way to greatness. Now let me share something powerful about sacrifice. Every significant achievement in history came with a significant price tag. The Wright brothers sacrificed comfort and safety. Edison sacrificed sleep. Gandhi sacrificed physical comfort. But most people want their name in history without paying history's price. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with comfort. They're willing to sacrifice their dreams to maintain their comfort. But here's what's fascinating. Successful people are willing to sacrifice their comfort to maintain their dreams. Let me tell you about something I learned from studying achievement. Big dreams require big sacrifices, but they also require smart sacrifices. It's not about sacrificing everything. It's about sacrificing the right things. But most people are sacrificing what they should keep and keeping what they should sacrifice. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that discipline isn't just about doing the right things. It's about doing them right, doing them now, and doing them even when you don't feel like it. You know what's interesting about personal growth? The bigger your dreams, the more you have to invest in yourself. But here's the key. Self-investment isn't just about adding new skills. It's about eliminating old habits that no longer serve you. Let me share something profound about discipline. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better than you were yesterday. But most people are waiting to be perfect before they even start. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, I've already sacrificed so much. Let me ask you something. Have you really sacrificed, or have you just given up things you weren't that committed to anyway? There's a big difference between sacrifice and surrender. You see, there's this fascinating principle in achievement. The size of your success is directly proportional to the size of your sacrifice. But here's what's interesting. It's not just about how much you sacrifice. It's about what you sacrifice for. Let me tell you about something called the success tax. Everything you want in life comes with a tax. Want better health? You'll have to pay in sweat. Want more success? You'll have to pay in hours. Want better relationships? You'll have to pay in attention and effort. Here's what's fascinating about personal excellence. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary discipline. But most people are waiting for extraordinary opportunities while wasting ordinary moments. Let me tell you about something that could revolutionize your path to success. It's called the law of disciplined focus. You see, big dreams don't just require big sacrifices, they require sustained sacrifices. But most people sacrifice intensely for a week and then wonder why their lives haven't transformed. Here's what's fascinating about lasting success. It's like building a pyramid. Every great achievement is built on thousands of small, disciplined actions. But here's what's interesting. Most people want to start at the top of the pyramid instead of laying the foundation stones first. Now, let me share something powerful about daily disciplines. They're like compound interest for your dreams. Small, consistent actions, repeated daily, create massive results over time. But most people underestimate what they can achieve in a year and overestimate what they can achieve in a day. You see, most people have this interesting approach to sacrifice. They make it when they feel motivated. But here's what's fascinating. Real success comes from making sacrifices, especially when you don't feel motivated. That's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. Let me tell you about something I call the success calendar. Every day you stick to your disciplines, you mark an X. Soon you'll have a chain of X's. Your only job is to not break the chain. But most people focus on the end goal instead of today's X. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that discipline isn't about perfect days. It's about perfect efforts in imperfect days. They know that success is built in those moments when everything in you wants to quit, but you keep going anyway. You know what's interesting about big dreams? They require big changes in your daily routine. You can't live like everyone else and expect extraordinary results. But most people want extraordinary success while maintaining ordinary habits. Let me share something profound about personal transformation. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Every time you choose discipline, you're choosing between these two pains. But most people choose to avoid the small pain now, only to face the bigger pain later. Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I don't have time for all this discipline. Let me tell you something, you don't have time not to be disciplined. The time will pass anyway. The only question is, will you pass it with discipline or with regret? You see, there's this fascinating principle in achievement. Success leaves clues. And one of the biggest clues is this: behind every great achievement is a story of great sacrifice and unwavering discipline. But most people want the achievement without the story. Let me tell you about something called the success price tag. Everything you want has a price, and that price must be paid in advance, in full, with no guarantee of success. But here's what's interesting. While success isn't guaranteed, if you pay the price, failure is guaranteed. Don't. Here's what's fascinating about personal excellence. It's not built on motivation, it's built on discipline. Motivation is like the weather, it changes daily. But discipline is like the climate, it's the long-term pattern that determines your success. Let me tell you about something that could completely transform your journey to success. It's called the law of disciplined identity. You see, big dreams don't just require you to do different things, they require you to become a different person. But most people try to achieve new results while holding on to their old identity. Here's what's fascinating about personal transformation. It's like a snake shedding its skin. You can't grow bigger while holding on to your old limitations. But here's what's interesting. Most people want to grow, but they're not willing to let go of who they've been. Now let me share something powerful about daily choices. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're not just doing something different. You're becoming someone different. But most people focus so much on the doing that they forget about the becoming. You see, most people have this interesting approach to sacrifice. They see it as something they have to do until they reach their goals. But here's what's fascinating. Sacrifice isn't a temporary state. It's a lifestyle choice for those committed to greatness. Let me tell you about something I call the success DNA. It's the combination of daily disciplines that literally restructure who you are. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you're rewriting your personal code. But most people keep running the same old programming and expect different results. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that discipline isn't just about controlling your actions, it's about controlling your standards. They don't just do more, they require more from themselves. You know what's interesting about big achievements? They're always preceded by big improvements in personal standards. You can't achieve world-class results with mediocre standards. But most people want to change their results without changing their standards. Let me share something profound about personal growth. The size of your success will rarely exceed the size of your self-discipline. You can't out-achieve your level of self-discipline. It's the ceiling of your potential. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, discipline is hard. Here's what you understand. Discipline is hard, but regret is harder. Living with unfulfilled potential is harder. Watching others achieve what you could have achieved is harder. You see, there's this fascinating principle in success. Everything you want sits on the other side of sustained discipline. But here's what's interesting. Most people are willing to try anything to succeed except sustained discipline. Let me tell you about something called the achievement gap. It's the space between where you are and where you want to be. That gap can only be bridged by discipline. Not motivation, not inspiration, not intention, discipline. Here's what's fascinating about personal mastery. It's built on the foundation of small disciplines, practiced daily without fail. But most people are looking for the big breakthrough while ignoring the small disciplines that create breakthroughs. Here's what's fascinating about extraordinary success. It's built in the hours when no one's watching. The private victories that precede the public victories. But here's what's interesting. Most people want the public victories without the private sacrifices. Now, let me share something powerful about daily disciplines. They're like voting for your future. Every small discipline is a vote for who you want to become. Every time you skip your disciplines, you're voting against your dreams. But most people don't realize they're voting at all. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with time. They're willing to waste it today, but expect it to deliver amazing results tomorrow. But here's what's fascinating. Time doesn't respond to wishes. It only responds to work. Let me tell you about something I call the success accumulator. It's the compound effect of tiny disciplines practiced daily. Each small action might seem insignificant, but together they create an unstoppable force. But most people underestimate the power of small actions consistently taken. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progression. They know that success is built on the foundation of small improvements consistently made. You know what's interesting about personal transformation? It happens through a series of moments when you choose the harder right over the easier wrong. But most people are waiting for transformation to happen to them instead of through them. Let me share something profound about sacrifice. It's not just about giving up something. It's about giving up something you want now for something you want more. But most people never make that distinction, so they see all sacrifice as loss rather than investment. Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I've tried being disciplined before. Let me ask you something. Did you try until it became comfortable, or did you stop when it was uncomfortable? Because that's where the real transformation begins. You see, there's this fascinating principle in achievement. Success loves speed, but growth loves slow. But here's what's interesting. Most people want to grow fast, but aren't willing to be patient with the process. Let me tell you about something called the success thermostat. It's your internal setting for what you believe you deserve. And here's the key. You can't outperform your internal thermostat without first resetting it through sustained discipline. Here's what's fascinating about personal excellence. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. But most people are looking for the extraordinary while neglecting the ordinary. Let me tell you about something that could fundamentally change your path to achievement. It's called the law of disciplined thinking. You see, big dreams don't just require physical discipline, they require mental discipline. But most people discipline their bodies while leaving their minds undisciplined. Here's what's fascinating about mental toughness. It's built in those moments when you want to quit but choose to continue. But here's what's interesting. Most people quit mentally long before they quit physically. They lose the battle in their minds before they lose it in reality. Now, let me share something powerful about disciplined decisions. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you're strengthening your success muscles. But most people are exercising their excuse muscles instead of their excellence muscles. You see, most people have this interesting approach to challenges. They see them as obstacles to avoid rather than opportunities to grow. But here's what's fascinating. Every challenge you face is actually a test of your commitment to your dreams. Let me tell you about something I call the success mirror. It reflects back exactly what you put in. If you put in disciplined effort, it reflects back progress. If you put in excuses, it reflects back stagnation. But most people blame the mirror instead of changing what it's reflecting. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that discipline isn't just about controlling actions, it's about controlling thoughts. They know that every achievement begins with disciplined thinking. You know what's interesting about big dreams? They require big belief, but big belief without big discipline is just big delusion. Most people have the dreams and the belief, but they lack the discipline to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Let me share something profound about personal growth. The size of your success is determined by the size of your daily disciplines. Small disciplines consistently practiced create massive results over time. But most people want massive results without massive discipline. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, discipline is boring. Let me tell you something, success is boring. It's the same disciplines practiced day after day. What's exciting is the results these boring disciplines produce. You see, there's this fascinating principle in achievement. Everything worthwhile in life sits on the other side of discipline. But here's what's interesting. Most people spend more time looking for shortcuts than they do developing discipline. Let me tell you about something called the success pyramid. At the base is discipline, in the middle is consistency, and at the top is achievement. But most people try to build their pyramid upside down, wondering why it keeps falling over. Here's what's fascinating about personal transformation. It's not an event, it's a process. A process built on countless small decisions to choose discipline over comfort. But most people want transformation without the transition. Would you like me to continue sharing more wisdom about this transformative understanding? Let me tell you about something that could completely revolutionize your journey to success. It's called the law of disciplined environment. You see, big dreams don't just require personal discipline, they require environmental discipline. But most people try to achieve their dreams in an environment designed for average. Here's what's fascinating about successful people. They don't just discipline their habits, they discipline their surroundings. But here's what's interesting. Most people want to change their life without changing their environment. And that's like trying to get fit in a candy store. Now, let me share something powerful about creating success. Your environment will either elevate you or eliminate you. Every person you spend time with, every place you frequent, every activity you engage in, they're either lifting you up or pulling you down. But most people never audit their environment. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with their surroundings. They let their environment control them instead of controlling their environment. But here's what's fascinating. Your environment is either supporting your dreams or sabotaging them. There's no neutral ground. Let me tell you about something I call the success ecosystem. It's the carefully crafted environment where excellence becomes natural and mediocrity becomes uncomfortable. But most people are trying to build success in an ecosystem designed for average. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that discipline isn't just about what you do. It's about where you do it and who you do it with. They know that environment shapes behavior more than willpower alone. You know what's interesting about personal transformation? It happens faster in the right environment. Put a small fish in a bigger pond and it grows bigger. Put yourself in an environment of excellence and you naturally rise to that level. But most people stay in small ponds and wonder why they can't grow. Let me share something profound about achievement. Your daily environment is either fertilizing your dreams or killing them. There's no middle ground, but most people spend more time decorating their environment than designing it for success. Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I can't change my environment. Let me ask you something, can you really not change it? Or are you just not willing to pay the price to change it? Because there's a big difference. You see, there's this fascinating principle in success. Your life will never outgrow your environment. But here's what's interesting. Most people are trying to build 5-star dreams in a 1-star environment. Let me tell you about something called the success container. It's the space you create for your dreams to grow. If your container is small, your dreams will stay small. If your container is filled with negativity, your dreams will suffocate. But most people never think about the container. They only think about the contents. Here's what's fascinating about personal excellence. It requires both internal and external discipline. You need to discipline not just your actions, but also your associations. But most people try to build success while surrounded by failure. Would you like me to continue sharing more insights about this life-changing understanding? Let me tell you about something that could transform your entire approach to achievement. It's called the law of disciplined relationships. You see, big dreams don't just require personal sacrifice, they require relational sacrifice. But most people try to keep everyone happy while pursuing their dreams, and that's impossible. Here's what's fascinating about successful people. They understand that not everyone belongs in their inner circle. But here's what's interesting. Most people let guilt and obligation determine their associations rather than growth and goals. Now, let me share something powerful about relationship discipline. You can't soar with eagles if you're scratching with turkeys. Every relationship in your life is either lifting you up or pulling you down, but most people keep relationships that sabotage their dreams out of a misplaced sense of loyalty. You see, most people have this interesting approach to relationships. They try to change themselves while keeping the same influences around them. But here's what's fascinating. You can't become who you need to be while keeping company with who you used to be. Let me tell you about something I call the success circle. It's the small group of people who fuel your dreams instead of draining them. But most people's circles are full of dream drainers, not dream supporters. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that relationships are either investments or expenses. They know that some relationships cost you your dreams, but most people never calculate this cost. You know what's interesting about big dreams? They often require lonely decisions. Sometimes you have to walk alone because the crowd's not going where you're going. But most people choose the comfort of the crowd over the loneliness of leadership. Let me share something profound about personal growth. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. But most people spend more time choosing their clothes than choosing their friends. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, I don't want to lose my friends. Let me ask you something. Are they really your friends if they're holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be? You see, there's this fascinating principle in achievement. Your net worth is determined by your network. But here's what's interesting. Most people are trying to build wealth while surrounded by people who celebrate mediocrity. Let me tell you about something called the success filter. It's the system used to determine who gets access to your time and energy. But most people have no filter. They let anyone and everyone influence their life direction. Here's what's fascinating about personal transformation. It often requires relationship transformation. You have to be willing to outgrow people. But most people let outdated relationships determine their future potential.